These are the three states that are most likely to show hacking because they have razor-thin margins, because they have corrupt
there were also
voting machines.
thin margins in Virginia and New Hampshire and even Colorado. Why not go into those states where Hillary Clinton won?
As I'm trying to tell you, it's more than one criteria. It's razor-thin margins. It's you want to have a voting system which is suspect and which is problematic from the start. In Wisconsin, they use voting machines that are illegal to use in California because they are so tamper-friendly.
All right, and since then we've heard that third-party presidential candidate Jill Stein is suing Wisconsin because even though it's going through with this recount, it will not be doing it on the hand ballot. In other words, counting each one hand by hand, ballot by ballot. And that's triggered yet another follow-up suit to the original suit to demand that Wisconsin recount all those ballots. Talk that this could spread certainly to Pennsylvania, even Michigan, which has just now been thrown in the column for Donald Trump. To Wisconsin's Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kleefisch over all of this uproar. Governor, very good to have you. What do you make of the selection of your state, potentially two others, and the timing of all of this? Because as Kennedy was raising with Ms. Stein, this did not appear to be focused on states that had even closer gaps.
Well, it kind of cracks me up that she said razor-thin margins, because if that's razor-thin, that's a pretty dull razor, Neil, because we're talking about a difference of 22,000 votes between Donald Trump, the winner in Wisconsin, and Hillary Clinton. Jill Stein, about 30,000 votes total. Not difference between her and the winner, but total number. So this is kind of where nefarious and evil meets stupid and weird.
Okay. Then let me ask you about the timing. I cannot see how it would benefit Dr. Stein. Maybe the fact that the Hillary Clinton people got involved was they say they were checking on the process. If they're going to recount ballots, they want to make sure that they're represented. I can kind of see that. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know whether the Trump people would or should be involved in this, but do you envision a possibility where your state could turn, in this case, against the president-elect?
No, I don't. It's 22,000. Even our bipartisan election commission says even with a hand recount where you may change a few, the number may go up or down by a couple. It's just not going to happen. There's no way to overcome 22,000. That's a gigantic margin. And you're right, the timing of this thing is really suspect. I don't know if Jill Stein is just looking for a $3.5 million participation trophy here, or if she is honestly being very deceitful with the help of Hillary Clinton's campaign and trying to push our state up until the deadline, December 13th by 3 p.m., by which these election results must be certified for the federal government to count our 10 electoral votes. If that's the case and she's hoping that we can't get it done in time, well, newsflash, we have that date too. We're going to get it done.
All right, so the way it looks like in your state, like I said, about a 23,000 vote gap. In Michigan, an 11,000 vote gap, a 70,000 vote gap in Pennsylvania, those three states that would be presumably getting these recounts. It would take a lot to turn any one of them, but that is the Stein campaign says about looking at the possibility of hacking and how advanced election systems like your state could be ripe with abuse. In other words, could, through no fault of your own or the party officials on either side, be taken advantage of because it is so sophisticated. What do you make of that?
Okay, Jill Stein, in the soundbite you had on before I came on your show, Neil, said that California was her high standard. Really? So in Wisconsin, we have photo ID now, a very important piece of legislation that the governor signed to ensure that it's easy to vote, but it's really hard to cheat in our state. And I have confidence in the results. I have confidence in the fact that the president-elect is, in fact, the president-elect with Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes in his bank.
Real quickly then, Governor, help me out with this. When someone calls for a recount and they have the money to do it, which in this case, you know, Stein did. Where that came from, we still don't know, but we see the Hillary Clinton people joining. Do you have to honor that? Is it within the percentage gap that would justify a recount as long as someone else is picking up the tab to do the counting?
Well, Jill Stein right now is calling for a hand recount.
Right.
Our Elections Commission had decided that she could do a recount. However, she's demanding a hand recount, which is hideously expensive and really difficult, going to require a lot of our clerks to bring in thousands of workers,
But if she's
some of
paying for
whom
it,
will
if
have
she's
to work
paying for
nights
it,
and weekends.
What's the problem if she's paying for it?
And you've seen the pages where she's raising the money. How Democrat donors continue to be bilked out of money over a project like this, which will accomplish nothing except for getting her and Hillary Clinton participation certificates, I will never know. But at the end of the day, she's going to have to produce $3.5 million because this is going to be extremely costly.
How much would a hand recount
and
cost?
if she ends
How much
up
would a hand recount cost?
$3.5 million. And you're also talking about the involvement of a whole bunch of poll watchers who will want to come in and make sure that they are present, making sure that you have attorneys on both sides who are going to ensure that the process is being done properly. It is a waste of time. America voted. America spoke. There was a huge dignity deficit that Donald Trump addressed and filled, and he is now the president-elect. I'm sorry that there are a lot of folks who are very, very upset about that, but I do believe that our president-elect has made good overtures and steps in the direction toward healing this country politically, and it begins in Wisconsin.
Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Klefas, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil.